But I do, as far as what people should be doing, is obviously the first step is take inventory. I know Rocket Money has an incredible app that I don't use, but all of their commercials, obviously you go in and key in some of your information. The big one is putting your social in. That's going to track everything that's connected to your credit and pull every subscription that you're paying. And they at least promote that you can cancel from right within the app. And a good strategy is usually cancel a bunch up front and see what you miss over the next 30 days. And I'd be willing to bet most people aren't going to miss half of what they're paying for.
I don't watch any network TV besides whenever there's like a football game or baseball game on there. If they could just come out with a product that says, we're going to have all of your sports here in one spot, that would be perfect. But they're really going the opposite direction. Now to watch NFL, you have to have Netflix, you have to have Amazon Prime, you have to have every streaming service under the sun. It's like so annoying. And if only they could like bundle everything together and come up with like a name for it, like cable or something, right? Like just they could just bundle everything back together. We're tired of the segmentation. Just do that for us and we'll be happy campers.
Welcome to the Advisor Dads podcast, where family, finance, and real life collide. We're two financial advisors and full-time dads sharing stories, lessons, and strategies to help you make smarter decisions for your family and your future. Whether you're navigating retirement, raising kids, or just trying to make sense of the financial world, we've got you covered. Ben Tusky is a private wealth advisor and the vice president of financial planning at Sunpoint Investments. Dave Rath is a wealth advisor and the chief investment officer at Continuum Wealth Advisors. The views shared in this podcast are our own and don't necessarily reflect those of Sunpoint Investments or Continuum Wealth Advisors. Seriously, don't make financial decisions just because two dads with a microphone sound convincing. Talk to a professional that knows your situation. Some securities or strategies discussed may be holdings or recommendations for clients of Sunpoint Investments or Continuum Wealth Advisors. All right, let's get into it.
We're going to be talking about subscription creep, where we end up with countless subscriptions and the $6.99 per month charges really add up. How do we control that as personal finance people? How do we control that as dads? So we want to lead it off first by talking about the dad moment of the week. We might actually do a bonus one because I have one to share as well as Ben. So I'm going to let Ben lead it off here.
All right, my dad moment of the week. I didn't plan to have this next to me, but James won an award at school and a compassion award. And obviously any parent, you're ecstatic, especially for your 4-year-old boy who isn't always the most well-behaved child in the classroom, wins an award. That's a big moment. Honestly, Mary Kate and I had to forward the email to our James teacher to verify, like, not only like we got the right kid and this is real, right? And she was like, yeah, that's right. Now this is Tuesday, like afternoonish, that we get the email for a ceremony. We're recording this on May 2nd, Friday, for this Friday at 9 a.m. for full mass and a ceremony to follow. And as excited as we were, it puts us in pure panic mode of who's gonna go, who's gonna get there. Yeah, Mary Kate's an ER nurse. She's scheduled to work. It's very challenging for her to get off work or to get anybody to switch with her. And I had 2 client meetings, and Dave and I actually record this podcast in the morning on Fridays. So I'm texting Dave, I'm emailing clients, talking to my partner Matt, like, hey, could you sub in for me? It Without enough time, it just puts us parents in this weird predicament, like, hey, we have 3 days to plan this. And I was just saying this to Dave too. Any parent that's been to a school function knows that when you see another child there that obviously is not your own, but doesn't have representation, I'll call it, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa there, you can see the toll that it takes on their face and their body expressions. And it's a tough pill to swallow. And I love the adage of just showing up is 95% of parenting. And yeah, that's my dad moment of the week. It was really cool to see him up there. And I'll tell you, the coolest part is when he sees you for the first time. Like when your kid is like, "Mom and Dad," and you lock eyes, and that smile, if you could like somehow 4K picture that, it will be excellent. I got a good like Snapchat video for my wife, but like you're like zoomed in across church. So like my phone's not supposed to be out in the first place, but it was it was a really cool moment today. But I would advise on a better formula for notifying parents if I
Ironically,
could.
not very compassionate from them to give your son the compassion award 3 days before you could plan your schedule. Are you the type of person who at these events is videoing the whole time? You said no phones are allowed, but I don't know. I'm like live in the moment type person. I realize that I'm never probably going to rewatch that more than one time. So what's your stance on that?
I'm a in the moment guy. I'm a only video record. I usually do one video and like we'll do a picture at the end, and that's just for the people that weren't able to be there. So that's for my family, Mary Kate's family, and Mary Kate wasn't able to be there today. Typically though, I'm phone in pocket. I also have an Android, so Mary Kate always talks trash on like my pictures not translating to the iPhone well. So it actually alleviates all that stress. I can just live in my world, which yeah, I'm an in the moment guy. I don't really rewatch things, so I'm with you there.
I think it's Sebastian Maniscalco, the comedian, who's got a bit on that where he's talking about all the parents have the phones out. And he's like, the one parent leans to me and says, "This is going to look great in 4K on my TV." He's like, "It looks even better in real life."
He's incredible talent. I always remember, I think it was when the Pope was in Philadelphia, and there was a image of the procession of the Pope coming through on the streets, and all of these phones out, and then maybe one woman front row that was in her 70s or 80s, leaning on the fence, just enamored by the moment. And it was such a good capture of, I think, what we should be aiming for. I understand you want to snap the picture quick, but I think, again, how often are you going to relive that and you missed it because you're trying to do it through a phone? So, yeah, I'm gonna just try to like embrace the moment type person.
Kind of related, and but off topic at the same time. I was watching this documentary on Netflix. So actually, it ties into our conversation today. I was watching a documentary on Netflix this morning as I'm doing my cardio, and it's on World War II. And I am always fascinated by the people who are in the middle of warfare and are filming it. Like, was that their job, or is that just like a cameraman who decided as he's about to storm the beach in Normandy, hey, let's just get a couple good reels of this. Like, I don't know. Like in my own mind, I would not be thinking about getting some film. I would be like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Like, do they have like professional cameramen that they put in the? I don't know.
It's a really good point because today everything's recorded, so I guess I never even thought about it. But yeah, back then, and you figure today, like you have your phone that's like this big. Back then, like the technology, you had this like lug of a camera that you had to bring around with you. And yeah, I don't know, maybe it was like back from even before then where, the drummers were off limits. You don't shoot those people. It's like, hey, you see a cameraman, you can't, he's just getting footage for their Facebook page.
Yeah.
So let him
For
go.
80 years when the guy's on his exercise bike watching your
Yeah.
documentary.
In this temperature controlled room, they're like, what is air conditioning? Now you'll know about it in 80 years, trust me.
Yeah. So on the opposite end of the spectrum, your son just wins an award at his school for compassion. You're a very proud dad. I just ran into a situation where both my sons, there's a bush in the backyard that they will relieve themselves if they're playing outside and they don't feel like running inside. Although it's kind of morphed into like sometimes I'll catch them going outside. I'm like, "Where are you going?" And they're like, "I'm going to pee in the bush." There is a toilet inside. Please use that on a regular. So it's like a fine line, right? You want to, tell them like you don't want them to pee their pants, and so like, hey, if you're a boy, you can use this if you want. Use your discretion. Well, the other day, I look outside and my son has his pants around his ankles, as boys do, but he's turned away from the bush that is being used to pee in. And my other son is standing close by. So I thought that they were just like talking to each other and he hadn't decided to pull up his pants yet. So he comes in later that night and he says, Dad, I peed in the bush. I said, I saw you. He goes, I pooped too. I'm like, oh, is that what you were doing? Turn around. So sure enough, Monique goes out into the yard and there is this little log that she's got to clean up. Luckily, we have a dog, so we have the dog bags on hand. But that is the stuff that they don't really tell you about when you have kids. Like you might have to clean up your kid's poop in your yard because he thinks that now is just one big toilet.
That's that's remarkable. I've who did it? Was
It was
it
Michael,
I wasn't sure if it was
my
him
younger
or
one.
okay. Yeah, I don't have anything. No, nobody. Well, I have a daughter, so like I don't have to worry about too much of that. But James, I have, and we have we're in a townhouse, so we have like a shared yard. So
Definitely don't do it in the shared
definitely
yard.
that is not being talked about in this household. Yeah, we are opposite ends of the spectrum for this week, but
Yeah,
that's parenting in a nutshell. Honestly, you could have both of those things happen in your own house in the same week.
in
That's
one
plausible.
day, right? You can
In one day,
you can
absolutely.
experience the highs and the
Yeah,
lows. But you just
it's a
gotta
roller
laugh.
coaster.
Like there's
No, I
nothing
know.
other to like. You can't reprimand him. It's just like, buddy, don't do that, please.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah. That don't do that again. How about that?
So let's
Um,
our
let's do
episode
it.
talking about subscription creep. I mentioned the Netflix documentary. We were talking before we hit record about not only the creep of subscriptions that the amount that you have, the number of different services that you have, but also the price of those services. And Netflix, I think when I first signed up back in 2009, was $9.99 a month, and you got a DVD in the mail along with your streaming service. Great deal. Now it's like $25 a month, in addition to them segmenting everything that you need to watch or that you feel like you should watch to stay up on the times. And I don't even know. I don't even know how many things I'm subscribed to, but it's so convenient to just have that recurring subscription to break it up into monthly charges. And that's how they get you. Like I sound like a dad saying, oh, that's how they get you. But it's true. Like that is how they get you. They play on the behavioral finance aspect of splitting it up into small little pieces. So if somebody said you're going to pay $120 a month for this service, you'd probably say maybe not, or $120 upfront for this service for the year. No, we're going to break it up into $9.99 a month. And so, what's your opinion on streaming, on the services, on the segmentation, the fragmentation of everything?
Yeah, so it's interesting because as I remember years ago when we've been in our house, I think what, 9 years? When we bought our house and we just did like you do the standard cable package back then. And when we got cable, I noticed after the first year, maybe it was the second year, our bill was like in the 200s. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this anyway. This is insane. So then you're like negotiating with Verizon. You're trying to like cut down. I have, we watch six channels. That just give me the six channels and I don't know. And it's, that's never how it works. But once we cut the cable, I feel like that was like a bit of the gateway drug of we cut the cable, we signed up for our first subscription, which was YouTube TV. Actually, before then it was some other live streaming service that I forget. And then we switched to YouTube TV. And then once we started having kids, you get Disney Plus. We had Netflix. We were using other people's Netflix. Then they cracked down on it. We had our own Netflix. And now to this point, when I think about like, okay, all subscriptions, gym memberships, we had, hopefully we still don't have it, Peloton for like home workout stuff. I now have a gym membership. It's like Spot now you have it for music as well. Previously for music, you would just either listen to the radio, go on Pandora, buy songs on iTunes, or what us millennials probably did was
You can go
on
really old school
LimeWire.
here. I don't know if I actually don't know how much younger you are than me, but there was a time in my life when I would listen to the radio with a cassette tape ready to go in my boombox or whatever it was. And when my favorite song would come on, I would hit record. Like that is the ultimate mixtape of kids don't know. Again, sound like a dad right now, but kids have no idea how good they have it these days. I used to just sit through hours of music until I heard my favorite song and it would hit record on my cassette tape and be like, now I can listen to that whenever I want.
Whenever you want. I feel like we're almost the same age, and I've never done that once in my life. I also had a tech geek as a dad, so we had like unlimited music in our house because of a frowned upon method of downloading it from the internet for free. So like
LimeWire.
any song that you wanted, you would just be like, Dad, like this is what I wanted, and my aunt would burn these CDs. Like kids today have no idea the process of burning a CD and sitting there for an hour for the music to be lasered onto this disc. But now today, essentially all that's been replaced with subscription services. And we don't have a good method for it, but I do know not all of them live on our budget document, which is a mistake because I feel like that starts the problem. You're like, where did this like, where's this leak? And it's only 80, 90, or $100, but that's a month. Over a year, that's $1,200.
Hmm.
That's quite a bit of money. And again, to your point before, if you were asked to pay that up front and you were like, wait, I'm gonna have to pay $1,200, I mean, most people are gonna say no to that.
Yeah.
So I don't have a good strategy as far as what we use in our house, but I do as far as what people should be doing is obviously the first step is take inventory. I know Rocket Money has an incredible app that I don't use, but all of their commercials, obviously you go in and key in some of your information. The big one is putting your social in. That's going to track everything that's connected to your credit and pull every subscription that you're paying. And they at least promote that you can cancel from right within the app. And a good strategy is usually cancel a bunch up front and see what you miss over the next 30 days. And I'd be willing to bet most people aren't going to miss half of what they're paying for. I don't know. What are your
You
thoughts
could
here?
even do something where you're not locked into a contract. So if you wanted to say watch any show on a certain service with your spouse over the next month, you subscribe to that service for that month. And
Right.
then you switch and go back and forth. It's just that, and ironically, you probably would find it easier to find a new show because we
Yep.
are we are victims of what's called the paradox of choice, where the more choices that you have, the harder it is to make a
Yep.
decision. And so it's like, what do we watch tonight? Well, I don't know. Let's check like seven different places and then decide which do I want to watch, which is going to give me the most utility, the most satisfaction over the next hour. And you just end up scrolling through all of your different services and then not making a decision and then falling asleep halfway through the first episode. Maybe that's just me. I always fall asleep at night. And the question for you, does if you fall asleep on the couch, does Mary Kate wake you up and say like, make sure you watch the show?
So admittedly, I think I've fallen asleep on the couch maybe twice in 9 years.
Dude, who's your
Both
dad
times
card
I
for
was like
that?
deathly ill, sick. I'm a if I'm getting tired, I'm going into my bed. Like I have to be in my bed. I can't sleep on the couch unless I'm like laying all the way down. I'm also asleep with the TV off guy. Like Mary Kate will fall asleep sitting up, like with her pillows on her back, lights on in the room, TV on. Not me.
For some reason, I'll be in the process of zonking out during a show, and Monique will just not let me sleep. She's like, "You got to watch this." I'm like, "I'm really tired right now. Just I'll catch up in the morning. I don't necessarily need to see the character arc develop right here. I'm good. I'll catch up later."
Text me a timestamp and I'll start there tomorrow at some point, and that's where I'll
Yeah.
start my episode. Yeah, well, it'll be roles reversed to answer your question. Yes, I will in the morning be like, yo, you have to watch that episode. My favorite thing to do though is when I don't watch Grey's Anatomy. Mary Kate's been watching it from the beginning. I don't even really think she likes the show anymore. She just watches it because of she's been watching it forever. She'll fall asleep like mid-episode, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, Meredith Grey." It's the only character I know. And she'll just now she's caught on. She's like, "All right, shut up, Ben." But I'll be like, "That was the greatest." They did another surgery that needed to be done because it's a hospital, and she's always like, "All right, like enough." Like later in the day, I'm like, "There was a tragedy, right? There was love. Two nurses, they were in love. It's like the same episode. It's like Groundhog Day with that show."
End,
Yeah,
surprisingly.
dude, right. Just and once every 3 years, everybody dies, and they do a new cast except for Meredith Grey. She's an OG. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a intentional sleeper.
Do you guys have similar tastes in shows?
We not really. There's only like two. We watch like Lincoln Lawyer we watched together, and Ginny and Georgia, and I think both are on Netflix. And that's it. Everything else, like it has to fit a specific category for us because we watch TV at night, and I don't know why I say that like that's abnormal. That's pretty much what probably everybody does, especially parents. But it can't be like scary, and that's always our thing. It's like, oh, we're gonna watch this like horror TV show and then try to go to bed. Like this is not gonna work. And it also like, how loud do we need it to be able to understand what's going on?
We do the subtitles. We are old people,
Okay.
subtitles
Man.
for life. And once you
Dave, I
get
thought
into
you
the
were only, I thought we
subtitle,
were like the same age. And now I'm kind of thinking like you're in your 50s.
41.
All right. Sounded
Once you
like
get into
51
the
right now.
subtitle swing of things, you just never get out because it's like you pick up on stuff. It's like, oh, that character's name. Now I'm gonna remember it instead of like hearing, especially like Game of
Yeah.
Thrones, that type of
Oh yeah.
show. It makes it a lot easier to understand the stuff that's going on. And yeah, like once you start doing the subtitles, it's like I'm gonna have them on for pretty much everything.
I don't know. It's on. It's somehow James turned it on for Disney Plus, and I cannot stand it. And maybe that's because it's a show we watch North Carolina Zoo, and that's not necessary to have subtitles on. And maybe it's because I don't really care that much about it. But all right, what's your? I think subscription creep probably if you were to go house to house and even by development, I bet you it's probably out of control. Is what most people would say in their life. What's the like from your side? What's the strategy? What do people do about it?
Well, I would say what your suggestion was, which just cut half and see where you go. I would actually, if I were to go through this exercise right now on the fly, I would probably cut Netflix. I mean, we don't watch it a ton. It's just kind of there and convenient, and you might see a show. I would actually prefer, I love Apple's programming for way cheaper. HBO Max, like I steal that from my brother, and well, he shares it with me. I don't love other than like the old HBO shows that
Yeah.
you've grown up on and you love. I don't love like their new programming. So we talk about subscription creep. They totally get you with holding ads over your head. They're just holding you
Yeah.
hostage with you don't want to pay, we're gonna we're gonna make your eyes stay open and watch this ad for the next minute and a half. And even Amazon, you pay for Prime. Prime was always, video and everything included, and now they have an ad tier. And so just this morning or last night actually, I had something on and it's like, you don't want to see ads anymore, pay $2.99 a month. And I'm like, all right, $3 a month. Yeah, I'll do that. I don't want to watch a minute and a half of ads every 20 minutes. And so that just add that to the tally. And so if I were to go through your exercise, I would actually say Netflix would be one of the first things I would cut. Just the cost benefit ratio is just not there for me. And I would be okay just subsisting on like Apple's program. I really like their shows. I think they're really well done. There's probably a lot that I could get into that I just haven't had time to. And again, paradox of choice, I end up not choosing any. So that would be my thing is I would maybe start with the most expensive one, see where you are spending more of your time. Another thing, and you talked about YouTube TV. I only watch live TV. I only watch sports with it. I wish there was something that was just sports
Yeah.
because we pay for the streaming service. It's like $100 a month now. You used to cut the cord to save money. Now it's exactly the same price.
Yep.
And I don't watch any network TV besides whenever there's like a football game or baseball game on there. If they could just come out with a product that says, we're going to have all of your sports here in one spot, that would be perfect. But they're really going the opposite direction. Now to watch NFL, you have to have Netflix, you have to have Amazon Prime, you have to have every streaming service under the sun. It's like so annoying. And if only they could like bundle everything together and come up with like a name for it, like cable or something, right? Like just if they could just bundle everything back together. We're tired of the segmentation. Just do that for us and we'll be happy campers.
You know the other one that like really frustrated me for a subscription was memory on your phone.
I'm a sucker for that too. I just
I,
upgraded to the new Apple service, $9.99 a month, to make sure that all of my photos from 2016 are being saved on the drive.
at some point, where do you draw the line? And you're like, okay, yeah, I think it's something like, at least for me, I love watching like the English Premier League in the morning. But I can only watch like there's only one game usually on, and then you got to flip over to Peacock. Well, I don't pay for Peacock, and so I just say I'm not gonna watch like not watch soccer, and that's how I've actually moved to just care less about some of these sports, and it'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds over the next several years. Like, does the user sit down and have a prudent financial conversation inside their own household to say, whoa, I'm paying for Netflix, Apple, Disney, Peacock, Hulu, all this stuff. This is more than 150% of what I was paying for cable. Do I entertain a cable option again and see what Verizon could come in and offer?
And that's
Or do
just
I just
TV. That's not
cut it?
even music. That's not
Yeah. Yeah,
anything
that's
like
not
memory for
Spotify.
your
That's,
for your phone.
yeah,
We saw
it's,
a stat before we got on here that there was the average family spends over $200 a month on subscriptions. That is an absurd amount of money to be spending for to be able to watch the shows that you want to watch or listen to the music without ads. Now, again, there is the ad tier version. You can do that, but we are so pampered these days. And do your kids, whenever a commercial comes on, if you don't have the ad-free tier, they're like, "What is this? Stop! Put my show back on."
they only watch Disney Plus for something specific is the only thing they'll sit down and watch. And it's ad free. But so like that's it. We don't on YouTube TV they don't watch like they don't ever ask to like, "Oh, could you put on whatever show?" So we haven't run into it, which is kind of why I think now's the time to like nix a whole bunch of this stuff. I'm having this conversation with Mary Kate when we do our finances this weekend. I'm definitely bringing this up of like, hey, maybe I think it'll probably be download the Rocket Money app and let's just get inventory of what all is out there. Because I'm sure there's things that we're paying for that we don't even. I mean, you think if you don't log into your credit card or your bank statement every day, I mean, it could have hit on the first and went right on by. You didn't look at anything until the third. Like, yeah, I'm sure that you add it all up. And I'm sure 200 is the light end for what's probably happening in my household. YouTube TV is $100. So there's half of it right there.
If you had to just pick one to stay, what would it be?
Not including live TV. Like YouTube TV is always going to win because I'm a big live TV
Yeah.
person. But other subscriptions, man, that's a good question. If I only ever go on Netflix, and we're like new to Netflix. I'm not a big TV show person. So I would actually, you could cut it all. Other than YouTube TV, I would be totally happy with that. I don't,
But you got to think of your kids too.
so I would keep Disney Plus would be my one then, just because my kids like that's what they love. And then when the Lincoln Lawyer comes back on, I would resubscribe for Netflix, watch the 10 episodes in probably a week, and shut it back off again.
Maybe
Like
doing
I would be
the
okay doing
seven
that.
day free trial.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just a new email every single year to get up to speed with the Lincoln Lawyer until that discontinues.
Well, it's interesting. Speaking of Netflix, have you ever watched Black Mirror?
No.
Black Mirror is a show that Netflix purchased a couple years ago. It was previously on British television, and then they started making ones that were just for Netflix. It talks about how just technology, the intertwining of technology in our lives, and for the most part, how horrible technology is making our lives.
Yeah.
And they've actually foreseen the future. If you go back and watch some of the older episodes, they've actually foreseen what is currently happening with a lot of things. And that was a show that I loved when it came out. It really went through a rut, I would say, last season and the season before. But either way, the reason I'm bringing it up is because watched one of the newer episodes that just got released, and it was kind of ironic because the whole the premise of this episode, each episode is its own show, its own storyline. So the premise of this episode was lady gets traumatic, or she gets a brain aneurysm, and the only way to save her is to do this revolutionary new technology where the procedure is free. But in order for her to basically live and have her memories and everything synced with the home server, as they put it, she's got to pay $300 a month. And her husband are not very financially well off. And so it's a struggle for them to get that $300 a month payment. And of course, that $300 a month payment is just the introductory rate. So then the service starts adding in things like ads, where she just will start saying an ad in the middle of a day. And so in order to get the ad-free version, they have to go to $500 a month. And then they keep upping that amount. And I almost turned it off halfway through because it was so depressing. Not only from the standpoint of, yeah, this is a life that a lot of people live, and obviously this is an exaggeration of it, but it is a
Sure.
life that a lot of people live, and they start doing things that were similar to like the gig economy, right? Who were going, DoorDash, seeing your Amazon driver outside your door at 4:30 in the morning, like delivering a package. Like it was so depressing on the current state of things. Like I literally almost turned it off halfway through. But full circle, the fact that Netflix released that on their platform where they have the ad version and you can pay more, like it was just, the irony was just dripping from that. And so, long story short, I'd say that if you can't get a hold of these subscriptions, you have to do something, at least initial purge, figure out what you want, because they do just creep into your life. And the more that they do that, the easier and the more comfortable it is to see that charge hit your account, and whatever, I'll deal with that next month.
Yeah, I think that's the takeaway here. Because and then what happens is a month goes by, you signed up for something, and we're all guilty of this stuff where, hey, life moves really quick, and you got to get the kids to soccer or dance, whatever it is, and you don't sit down to think about this topic again. And you go back to, I mean, Rocket Money does such a good job in their commercials of portraying like you've been paying for 17 subscriptions for the past 3 years. And they're like, I only thought I was paying for five. I only use five. And you're like, man, you're just what you could have done with that money on 12 subscriptions times 36. That's the missed opportunity. And if you could just, and that's partially what this show's about. It's just like, hey, if you could just, it's small tweaks and things that if you can make a meaningful difference. I mean, all that, it doesn't all have to be, we all like to say, like, oh, what if you saved that money and compounded? Like, no, you could have just spent that money on something more useful for your life. Sure, you could have saved some of it, but
Yeah.
probably could have went on a trip too.
Yeah. And I think it's a pretty good spot to end, although I do have, related to the entertainment industry and parenting, and I will call this the anti-dad and mom moment of the week. Monique and I never go to the movies anymore. We just went last weekend to see Sinners, which is, if you've seen a preview, it is an intense movie. It is a horror slash thriller slash not a kid's movie. So we're in the middle of the theater, and out of nowhere, I just hear this kid talking. And it was very clear that the kid was not that old. And I looked at Monique. I said, "Is that a child in this movie?" And she's like, "I think so." So on the way out, we see this no older than 3 or 4 years old kid who just went to see this horror movie that adults were jumping and being scared at. And so I don't know what the situation was, but the solution to whatever that situation was can't be bring your kid to go see this movie. And props to the kid. He did not talk really much through the movie, didn't cry. So they must have had him on an iPad or something. Again, we don't want to judge parents here, but I'm going to judge. And that's just, what are you doing? What are you doing to your kid? You got to be better than that.
Yeah, we have not taken the kids to the movies. I don't know if James could sit through a movie, but if we're going to go to a movie, it's going to be like Moana 2, where there's going to be a whole, like, first of all, it's age appropriate. I just Googled Sinners with Michael B. Jordan. Was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. What?
Oh,
I think
and
it's
so
rated.
full
Is it
circle
rated
too,
R?
that movie needs subtitles. It is so
Oh,
hard to
okay.
understand. It's like deep south. Like I could understand like half of the movie, and my wife, the English is her second language. She didn't understand anything. I was having to translate a lot of the movie for her.
So, all right. So maybe that's why it wasn't an issue because he had no clue what's going on. But it's a rated R movie, which I think today is hard to get a rated R for a movie. I feel like they just slap PG-13 on a lot of things. Man, there's a please don't do
Yeah,
as a parent.
yeah, we will judge you for that one.
Yeah. All right. Episode 8 in the books.
All right, take care.
Cheers.